to TheSeireitei, a Bleach podcast brought to you today by The Dangling Cross. Shot through the hollow, and you're to blame. What the fuck? You can't aim. My name is Del, and today I'm joined by Shiki.
Hello.
And Lethan.
Hey!
And today we are going to be talking about episode 11, The Legendary Quincy, and episode 12, The Gentle Right Arm. So, let's get into those episode recaps. Episode 11, take it away.
Yeah. Episode 11 starts with Ichigo and his friends getting yelled at for interrupting the live broadcast of Don Kanoji's show. Rukia eventually drags Ichigo away to deal with the holo, but when they try and find the holo, it's gone, and they try and beat the answers out of a poor spirit before performing a console on it, overseen by a figure in white. Ichigo and his classmates get their exam scores. We found out that Orihime, Ichigo and Chad are some of the top performers in the class, but number one is a name, Uryu Ishida, who we find out is a figure clothed in white. Rukia drags Ichigo off to fight another holo, which mysteriously vanishes again. Then Uryu Ishida shows up and kills a new holo using a flashy blue bow and arrow. Beats a sword, let's face it. He says that he's a Quincy, and the next day, while Rukia has taken her soul pager to Urahara's shop for repairs, he challenges Ichigo to a duel by smashing some bait that will attract holos. And that brings us into episode 12.
In episode 12, Uryu unleashes a horde of holos upon the city for a contest with Ichigo to see who is the better protector. Chad and Karin fall prey to one of the attacking holos. During their fight, Chad unlocks a mysterious armor for his arm and makes quick work of their foe.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. So episode 11, where we meet a pretty significant new character. So I guess what were your thoughts on episode 11, y'all? Because I have many. Because as I mentioned on the very first episode, Uryu was my OG boy when it came to Fates.
Good old Megane-kun.
So before I fangirl. I love a Megane-kun. Oh my god. I have two types, and they are mentors and asshole academics, and this show has both, and it thrills me. So before I fangirl too hard, we should talk about actual things that happen in episode 11.
We do learn actually quite a lot, don't we? Because
we do.
The two episodes are sort of blurring together potentially in my mind as well, but we get the explanation of the soul ribbons, don't we?
Yeah, we get a little bit more information about that, which I found interesting.
Yeah, because this was, we've seen it, but we've not had a proper explanation of it, I believe, up until this point. Is that right?
Yeah, because we learn about Soul Reapers have a special soul ribbon that's colored red.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which then links into what we see in the outro of every Bleach episode, which is where you can see Rukia holding what looks like one of these ribbons, right? It's red. So it was good to finally get that explanation as to why is she hugging a ribbon. But yeah, no, we find out that the Shinigami's ribbons are red, blood red, which is really interesting colour choice. But the fact that this Quincy knows so much about it and Ichigo doesn't just makes him look like a twat, to be honest. But a very lovable twat.
I will say narratively it's pretty successful because as the viewer, we only have as much information as Ichigo has up to that point because we, as the viewers, are still super new to the metaphysics of this world. And so actually having someone like Uryu, who admittedly could have been less of a dick about it, but having someone like him come in and be like, oh, you don't know all of these things? I guess I'll tell you, is actually pretty helpful because it doesn't seem exposition-y, but we get a lot of exposition. So actually props to Kubo for using that storytelling tactic, I would say. Yeah,
absolutely. And I loved that Uryu as well, even as a character, we got to see a bit more of him we see the mysteriousness of him when he shows up and he's being all really mysterious, very, very cliche. But then we find out that he's a sewing expert. And I'm like, dude, that's so cool. I love the fact that it's not even like sewing is something usually not to gender stereotype, but usually associated with girls. And the fact that he does it and he does it so well, it's just like, God, can this character get any cooler?
Well, you gotta be honest. At some point, when you tear enough clothes, you gotta learn how to sew it together.
I mean, have you
That's a
seen
good
his
point.
clothes as well? Like, they're so cool. He dresses well.
Yeah, indeed. But I will say, when he sewed up that plush's arm, they way overdid it for some very, very simple work there.
Unless it's just like their way of saying that, demonstrating that Uryu actually is a little bit extra. Like, he tries to be all cool and collected, but he's actually V-capital-D dramatic, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't get to see loads and loads of that in these 2 episodes, but it's just a tiny little glimpse into this character who up to now has been quite mysterious. I think Uryu is... I think he is pretty dramatic, actually. I think it's justified, but I think he's
Now that
dramatic.
I think about it, it actually reminds me of a character from another show. I think it's called, like, My Name is Sakamoto.
Oh, Sakamoto desu ka!
Yeah.
Yeah,
They-
totally, the comedy!
Yeah, that's... He reminds me so much of that main character.
Yeah, it's like a combination of glasses and schoolroom competence.
Yeah. If you haven't seen that, definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, it's super worth watching. It's like this high school boy who is super, super... I think the English translation is like, haven't you heard? I'm Sakamoto, is how they translate it for the most part. But it's like a comedy that takes mundane things and makes them extreme for the sake of humor. And the main character actually is not unlike Uryu. I think that's true.
Yeah, it's like anytime he does anything, even if it's like the most mundane thing, like holding 2 buckets of water outside of a classroom for punishment, they make him look like so absolutely unnecessarily badass.
Yeah.
It's so good. Did you guys notice any differences between the sub and the dub then? I'm interested.
I only watched the sub this week.
Okay, so for differences, I did notice a few things. Let me get to my notes real quick.
Please stay on the line. Your call is important to us.
All right, so for my notes, oh dear God, like, 1 second, actually, if it helps if I put on my own glasses. Speaking of Nekno-kun.
Oh, now I've just got like the whole idea of like Shiki sitting there pushing his glasses up with his middle finger, and the glasses like scintillating dramatically in the sunlight.
I will
sure
be
it's stunning.
completely honest. The past month that I've actually been wearing my glasses more often, I have done that so many times without even paying attention.
Because your glasses fall down and you have to push them up. I have the same thing. Which,
Yeah.
side note, if anyone out there wants to make podcast fan art, I have a suggestion for your first piece.
wait, I need to know. What's the suggestion?
I'm thinking like Shiki, but as Gendo Ikari or as Uryu. Take your pick. But, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
All right. So, some of the differences I noticed in the dub and the sub are in English when we have everyone looking at the rank board for who got like number 1 in class and stuff like that. In English, there was the Tatsuki making the comment, yeah, she's smart for a girl. And
Ooh.
I noticed that, but then when they had it in Japanese, they didn't make that comment at all. Like, they didn't even bring up the whole, like, smart for a girl gender stereotype kind of thing. Rather, Tatsuki was just saying that Orihime did amazing for just doing amazing. But then we go back to the English, she says, but then it does say in Japanese that she doesn't look that smart, does she? But in English, instead of saying that, they say, if it makes you feel any better, she's a horrible cook. So it feels like in English they're playing more on the gender stereotypes
Yeah.
which I found to be interesting. Like they had to put that in there or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they had to, like, match lip flaps to a certain extent when they were translating, but the fact that that's the direct... I mean, I haven't looked this up, but I suspect that a guy translated this. So
I was
that
about to say
what
the
they
exact
decided to roll with. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe while we're going through some of this, I'll see if I can look up who does some of the translation from the Japanese to the English. I'm curious now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be very interesting to see like what the reasoning behind that decision was.
Yeah.
I think as well for the time, they were obviously just trying to hit jokes that would appeal to most of their audience, and I can imagine, I'm maybe being wrong here, considering you know, like there's two female hosts that are on this podcast, like myself and Elf, that it mostly plays to young boys watching it.
Yeah, I mean, because Bleach is a shonen, which does mean young boy, so...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So it could be, but yeah, where Dell's mind went, where their mind went was exactly where mine's went as well. I was just like, but do you know what? It's just because we're so used to that, so it wouldn't surprise me, is all I'm going to say. But
yeah.
That was a really interesting point, though. I think I preferred the sub. Can we have that, please?
Yeah.
Like, you did well. Regardless of your gender, you did well. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then,
I think Tatsuki's exact words were, pretty smart for a girl, is what she says. And she is a girl. I'm like, Tatsuki, come on.
yeah, it was like an unnecessary translation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But then we also have another interesting translation after that, which you have Keigo when he's calling Ichigo and Chad nerds and betraying them for being nerds in the English version. In the Japanese one, he just says that they're evil monsters rather than playing on the whole nerdy aspect as much.
Again, I think that's because it's a Western, like the nerd aspect is like a very Western thing, I think. Because even like, it wasn't even a thing at my school. Nobody ever got called a nerd until like more American shows started coming over here, and then that term transferred with it.
Yeah.
So, like, you just used to get called, well, maybe I'm just speaking of Scotland, like, we just used to get called swear words. You know, you wouldn't really get specifically called, like, a nerd or a geek. Not when I was little, you would just get things thrown at you. You know, maybe that's just a Scottish way, I don't know, but I noticed it definitely when, like, the Disney Channel and stuff became available over here, which was all more Americanized television. That's when we started noticing those terms popping up. So I don't know if that's maybe just because it's done by American.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
But there's one more major difference that immediately struck me between the sub and the dub. So near the end, you see Genta and Ururu. They're playing rock, paper, scissors to see who's going to clean up the yard, right? Now, in the English, do you guys remember what they did once each one won their round of rock, paper, scissors?
My gosh, I honestly don't remember. It feels like it's been ages since I watched the episode.
I remember Jinta insisting that it was, you know, best 2 out of 3 and then maybe best 3 out of 5 and being
Yeah.
refusing to admit that he lost, and then like doing that thing where he like sticks his hands on either side of Ururu's face and he's hurting her, and then Tessai sweeps in as the ultimate second highest dad energy maybe third highest dad energy in the whole cast so far.
Yeah. So what they do is, in English, it makes it just look like it's a dramatic, like, looking away, like Genta suddenly, like, looks up and almost falls back kind of thing. But in Japanese, it's actually a follow-up game to Rock, Paper, Scissors called Achi Moite Hoi.
Ooh.
So, after you do your Jankenpon in Japanese for Rock, Paper, Scissors, once you decide who's the winner with that, the person who wins will say Achi Moite Hoi, which means, hey, look over there, and then they'll point either up, down, left, or right. And then the person who lost has to look in one of those directions. If the person who won rock, paper, scissors points in the right direction that the other person's looking at, they're the overall winner. If they point in the wrong direction and fail to guess where they're going to look, then you go into the next round of rock, paper, scissors. And you keep repeating until you have someone who wins both Jankenpon and Achimuite Hoi.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness. So they're just putting off work indefinitely is what I'm getting out
Yeah,
of
it's like
this.
they completely cut out the follow-up game in English.
Well, I think I do remember him looking up, or somebody looking up and somebody raising their finger, but it wasn't a game. It was just like it felt almost like she was controlling him.
Yeah, in
like,
Japanese, it's the game. It's a game that they play as a follow-up.
That's amazing. Mind blowing. That's so good. See, this is why I love learning about the difference in the sub and the dub. I need to go back and watch the sub. Genuinely.
Oh God, I love the sub. I love the Japanese voice cast so much. There are some folks in the English voice cast that do really lovely work, but I just love the Japanese voice cast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I would have watched the sub for this, like, doing the podcast, but the reason why I didn't is because I'm reading the manga at the same time, so, like, I'm trying to focus without reading two different screens at once, like, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So I'm, like, sometimes I'm reading the words in the manga at the same time they're happening on the screen in the anime, so that I can check exactly what is different. And speaking of difference, unless you've got some last things to say, Shiki, go for it.
No, I was just curious if they had the rock, paper, scissors and the follow-up game in the manga, or if that was cut out.
To be honest, that's a really, really good question. I don't think I took notes on it, because if it was just like similar to what the anime episode did, where it was just like, it made her look like she was pointing up or whatever and controlling him, rather than it being like a game. And nothing like that stood out to me, and I don't think I've taken any notes on it. I'm having a look just now, and I definitely haven't taken any notes on it, which means it doesn't stand out glaringly in the manga as being something different.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe was a sub-only thing, which is really interesting.
I will also say, to circle back around to our question about translation and who might have taken charge. So I've got the list of all the staff from a bunch of different studios. There's the English staff, the French staff, the Spanish staff, and of course these are different lists and cast lists and things like that from Anime News Network, which is a source I definitely trust. There is an English staff list. There are several names listed under adaptation. I can't find who actually headed up translation, but of the people who, of the 9 people listed under adaptation, only one is a woman, and she doesn't come in until episode 168. So it seems to me that the people who headed up this adaptation were indeed dudes.
Yeah, so that probably, I'd say that probably makes it, they're playing on the stereotype, probably.
One of them is the guy that voices Jushiro too, by the way. So,
That's
who, as far as I know, is totally a feminist and has done a lot for queer representation. Shout out to Liam O'Brien and all of his bisexual D&D characters. But that aside, and it was a different. I mean, this was what, 2003 when this anime first aired. I don't know.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't far before that I even got a Pokemon game that would let me choose a female character. So we were, we're still got headroom.
Yeah,
so
dude, we're fighting, man.
Yeah, we still are. Okay, some of the manga differences. Are you guys wanting to know some of the manga differences?
Oh, yes, always.
I did take some notes. I did take these about a week ago, so I'm excited to relearn them as well. Honestly, my memory is the worst bloody thing on the planet.
That was super real.
Right, okay, so the opening scene there, I've got that the opening scene, that Ichigo has been, it was a bit snarkier. So the very, very first scene, he was talking about, like, when he was getting apprehended by the teacher for, like, being at the Don Kanoji show and, like, interrupting it. He was like, no, it wasn't me, man. It, like, must have been my long-lost twin brother. I never thought I'd see him again. And he's, like, totally, like, just grilling it to his teacher. He's like, man, I didn't think I'd ever see him again, and, like, the teacher's just not having any of it. But I just thought that was so, like, sassy. And I was like, oh, my God, why did you leave that out?
That would have been so
good.
perfect.
I know.
Such a punk. He's such a punk.
Oh gosh, and do you know what as well? It is canon that Tatsuki can sing, because
really?
In the very next scene when they've ran away, like when Rukia lets them escape through the window and they're all walking as friends and they're all chatting, Tatsuki makes a joke about trying to get on TV or wishing, because you know how she got apprehended but she didn't do anything? She was like, damn, if I'd known that I would have like tried to get on TV to showcase my beautiful singing voice. So
oh my God, she just became my new forever girl. Wow.
There was also a whole section taken out where Don Kanoji turns up at the clinic to take his #1 disciple for a ride in his like expensive looking top down car, and Ichigo just like closes the door and locks it in his face. and And then it turns out that he only found out where Ichigo lives because Rukia got bribed with rice dumplings.
Oh my gosh!
It's so funny. It's really fun. I mean, it's like panels and panels. It's like 2.5 pages or like 3 pages almost. And Yuzu like turns up and she like fangirls all over him. And that's like, like the only time that Ichigo and Rukia can get away to fight a holo. And Karin's looking out the window and she does see Ichigo in his soul form with Rukia running away. So
wow.
I thought that was all worth calling out as well. I loved that little, like, I'd have loved to seen some of these moments in the anime, but anyway.
Yeah, I imagine they just didn't have the time to put that in, because that seems like it would have been a perfect thing for the anime.
Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah. I mean, there's another Donkanoji reference that will come up later, but Ichigo, so there were 2 scores, in the manga there were 2 scores for the classroom, like the exam results. So they got one on one page, and then like a couple pages later they got the other one that we've seen in the anime, because I was like sitting there reading the manga going, wait a minute, the anime's got all of these wrong, and I started taking loads of notes of like, no, Ichigo was like he done really, really, really well, so Ichigo's score for his first exam was like 18, and like he came in 18th place, and then I found out later that actually no, it's still included in the manga, but it was like a later section, so the anime only put one in. And they put the one in where Ichigo did, I think he was like number
23rd, which I clocked because 2 and 3 add up to 5, and there's like 15 and 5 imagery all around Ichigo. I don't know if that was a choice or not, but
that's
my brain
because of his
made
name
that connection.
could be split into that, can't it? So Ichi is 1 and Go is 5 in Japanese.
Is 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but anyway.
Boy.
I love that, I know. So yeah, he got a lot of a higher result in the first lot of exam results, so he got like 18, so he is actually really, really, really intelligent, but that wasn't the bit that really struck me. Oh my god, are you ready for this, right? This bit got my heart. So he ends up going into a lot of detail about, and he only makes a fleeting comment about it in the anime, where he's like, oh, you know, I don't need the teachers being on my back because of my grades as well. But in the manga, he goes into detail to say, like, the teachers will purposefully pick him out and start, like, because they expect him, because he's tall, he's got orange hair, they expect him to, like, act out. So they almost manipulate him to, like, be that kind of way, so that he's always getting called out for shit, which is the other reason why he's like, no, I want to keep my grades good so that the teachers, like, don't do that with me. And it was like a whole like 2 pages or something, and I was sitting there, I was like, oh my god, Ichigo, what a shame, because he proper goes into like the what would you even call it? It's not like discrimination against his hair colour that he faces from his teachers, and I guess you know, because that hair colour isn't common in Japan, and it just has been causing him so much more issues than what we saw in the anime.
Yeah, and that's actually a thing in Japanese schools. Even if your hair is naturally not black, they will force you to dye it black in many cases. And I don't know if it's getting any better in Japanese schools around that, but it's like something, like if your hair is just not the common color black, or at very least a very dark brown, then you better be dyeing it to a quote-unquote normal color.
Cultural differences, eh?
Yeah.
Following that, we have, like, Rukia pulls him away again to fight another one of the hollows that doesn't actually show up. But as she's pulling him away, like, their sass level is over 9,000. I'm going to make another reference.
Good.
He's like, do you know what people are saying about us? And she's like, no, I don't. And he's like, if there's no hollow, you're going to witness some serious panty bunching.
Oh my god! Oh boy!
And I'm like, Ichigo, that means something else entirely in English, but never mind. And she's just like, yeah, tell it to me walking. It's just like, they're so sassy with each other, but I'm like, panty bunching? That's a very odd translation. Let's just say that.
Oh, wild.
Anyway, that whole exchange had me in stitches. I was laughing about it for a good little while and had to walk up and down my hall just to calm down. But yeah, that was all literally just from episode 11, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah, episode 12 does not have that much. I don't know. Has anybody got any other thoughts on any of that?
I've got another thing that came up in episode 11 for me, which is when Rukia approached Urahara to ask about Quincy's. This is something that I clocked before when I was rewatching Bleach a couple of years ago. But on the one hand, like, it's wild that there are these creatures, or there were, because we learn later that Quincy's are extinct, or mostly extinct, as is exhibited by the existence and presence of Uryu. But it's surprising that Rukia, who has received a lot of formal training to be a Soul Reaper, didn't even know that Quincy's were a thing at all.
Yeah.
And then when both Tessai and Urahara jump in to talk a little bit about it, they use really vague turns of phrase, and at least in the subtitles, everything was kind of phrased using passive voice. So it wasn't like, oh, someone fought the Quincy's, or like, the Quincy's did this. It was like, no, the Quincy's were destroyed. They don't say by whom. The Quincy's became extinct. They don't say how. They sort of talk around Rukia's really specific questions. And every time, maybe not weirdly, because I like Uryu a lot, but I've rewatched this particular episode and the next couple quite a few times since I first watched Bleach, and every time that re-surprises me, because it seems like a big deal, and it seems super wild that Rukia and Urahara and Tessai are both surprised by the appearance of a Quincy, and are it's just there's so much mystery, and it feels like too much mystery for how significant Quincy's seem to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it honestly took me by surprise, because I completely forgot that Quincy's were extinct. I mean, I remembered there was a disagreement and tiff that constantly happened between Soul Reapers and Quincy's, but I completely forgot that they more or less went extinct. And I noticed that too when they were talking about Quincy's, and it makes me wonder, do you think it's something that they were like ashamed of the Quincy's going extinct, or rather they were kind of like, I don't know how to put it other than like saying book burning it to try and erase the history?
I think it has to do with, like, without being too specific, it has to do with, like, the victors always rewrite history, you know?
Yeah, so they were trying to just erase Quincy's from being in history whatsoever.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because we find out that, I mean, I know for a fact in the anime, the English anime, they say that Rukia has lived, when she looks at Ichigo in that first episode, she says, I have lived over 10 of your lives. Now, whether she means Ichigo specifically, which would make her over 150, or she means human lifetimes, which would make her like 500 years old, we know that she's at least 150-ish, and the Quincy's went extinct 200 years ago, so it wouldn't have been that long a thing since...
Yeah, timeline-wise, I don't think she can be much more than 100, because we do, like, we eventually get to see some specific snapshots of what things were like 100 years ago. I won't say what, of course, but Rukia doesn't feature heavily in that at all. But other people that she knows are portrayed at different points in their life during that bit. So I don't think Rukia was around, or certainly she wasn't involved 200 years ago.
Definitely not. But even then, they managed to burn those books quickly.
Yeah, and the other thing to note is that we've confirmed at this point in the anime, like, we know that Rukia went to school. We know that there is an academy for Soul Reapers, and so that means that she has received a full and complete education and still didn't know about this. So this is not in the curriculum anywhere.
Yeah. Granted, I would say, judging by how little Rukia seems to be able to do, like with the whole spirit ribbons and everything, they really don't seem to teach much in Soul Reaper Academy, do they?
No, they build soldiers there, dude.
Yeah, follow orders. You don't need to know your own stuff to make your own decisions. You just follow orders.
Yeah, I actually, I took a note about a quote that Rukia said when her soul pager was acting up during episode 11. She was talking about how she follows orders, how her orders come through or whatever, but the direct quote that, like, made my head whip around, which, like, this was almost my double take moment, actually. It just said, she says, I just relay whatever comes through the soul pager when Ichigo's like, that thing is defective, these hollows aren't here, whatever, whatever. And she's like, well, no, I have this device. It's from Soul Society, and I do what it tells me. And that's what I do. And that's not the first time that she's expressed her pretty unquestioning, unflinching obedience to this organization that she's a part of.
Yeah, and we'll play later on, and so I'm not going to get too much, but I do believe that maybe they're intentionally keeping lower level or Soul Reapers from developing their skills. At least that it feels like that.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So
even Squad 13 in my heart. Oh, no.
See, when we come to all that in the future, guys, I am so excited. I've only got two other tiny little differences in the manga for episode 12 because it was quite specific around its shonen aspect, like its actual action. I've only got two tiny little differences, and one of them made me giggle. It was like a tiny little sketch in the corner of the page to show Don Kanoji was out of town, but even from that far away, he like his head sprung up as soon as Uryu cracks that bait. So as soon as he cracked that bait for the hollow, like Don Kanoji was like, his head just shot up and he was like, something's wrong. But he was like a whole city away from, Karakura. So I thought that was quite funny and interesting.
So Kanoji can sense the hollows, but Ichigo and Rukia can't even.
That's fascinating.
It is, isn't it?
Actually. Ooh, good point, Shiki.
So,
I mean, Ichigo is new at this, but that, actually, the fact that Don Kanoji can do that and Rukia's having trouble, like, she has spoken up before about, like, hey, man, I think McGee guy's weird. Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Even from episode 1, she was complaining that her power wasn't, like, things weren't working or going right. But anyway, that all to come into fruition in the future. We've got another scene where Karin, what I've put here is Karin is far less mouthy in the manga toward Chad. So you know how Chad gets himself pretty beaten up?
Yeah.
Karin is giving him all kinds of like verbal abuse. In the manga, it's totally toned down, but in the English dub, the things that she calls him, I'm like, oh, girl, you got a mouth on you.
It runs in the family, I guess.
So good, I love it. I think the sass level's great in the anime, so I did really enjoy that.
Yeah. Some of the differences I noticed between the sub and the dub for episode 12, during the flashback scene with Chad and his abuelo, Chad is being told that he is tall, strong, handsome in the English dub, right?
Yeah, he is. What?
So, I mean, I may be straight, but I won't disagree with it.
Water.
Oh, give Chad some love. He needs all the love, man.
All right, but in the Japanese...
Sorry, yes, please go on.
So in the Japanese... Now, it's translated on Crunchyroll a little as accurate as they can, but he says, instead of saying handsome, he says beautiful. Now, there are two words in Japanese for beautiful. Kirei and Utsukushi. Kirei is the more... Kirei. Yeah, kirei is like that kind of like, you look beautiful, or something looks beautiful. That's what you say to a girl, or a room that looks...
A sunset or something.
Yeah,
Could
like
be.
a compliment.
Yeah.
But Utsukushi is more of the deeper personal, like, you have a beautiful mind, or you have a beautiful heart, you're a beautiful person. They have a specific word for that, and that's what Chad's abuelo says when he's speaking to him.
I remember that from the sub, actually. That did stick out to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like, it's interesting. I found it interesting, like, how they use that in the original, but they didn't even try to translate that in the English. I mean, maybe it completely didn't come into mind for the translators, but I do believe that plays more into Chad's character, like saying he has a beautiful soul or a beautiful heart and is beautiful on the inside, and that's kind of what matters and what Chad needs to focus on.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I think they translated it perfectly for Western culture. We don't care about your heart, we only care about your body, as that's Western culture.
There's something to be said for that.
Yeah. So maybe they didn't even want to entertain the prospect of trying to translate that.
Yeah,
or it
probably.
could just be like something to do with the way that they wanted to portray the male characters, the male identifying characters. The idea that I was seeing somebody was recently breaking down like some of the merits of, because as I'm sure everyone knows, like Avatar: The Last Airbender recently came to Netflix, and so something that someone was praising about it is how often they show boys crying on that show and like normalizing boys having feelings. But at the time that this was translated, I'm wondering if like that would have been too squishy for a male character who punches things to say that he has a beautiful soul or something like that.
Probably.
Even though Chad is so soft inside in the best ways. Ugh. It's called A Gentle Right Arm. That's the name of the episode. Gentle is in the title. Oh, it's wild.
Yeah, so they really are playing out the stereotypes, not just the females, but also the males.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's it. That's all the notes I've got. Is there anything else from the dub and sub?
From dub and sub, I noticed a couple smaller things. Going back to Chad and his flashback with his abuelo. In the English, they use the idiom, the eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind, but that is not used whatsoever in the Japanese original sub version. That's probably because it's just a Western idiom that isn't really used in Eastern cultures. And then the other main difference I noticed was when Chad was back with his friends, as the Hollow was attacking, one friend in the English says, "I need my next meal just to stay alive." However, in Japanese, he gets a little more... I don't know how to put it, but he says, "I would risk my life for just a bowl of rice."
Yeah.
Huh. I think it was something similar in the manga as well for that. I remember it being a little bit more dramatic, but not enough that I was like, I'm going to take a note of it, because like I was looking at my note list already and I was like,
But yeah, that's all I got for differences on that.
Yeah, sick. All right, cool. Let's, in that case, let's see what's going on IRL in the world of Bleach with, is it delving or diving? I think I've said both over the course of these past two episodes.
I have no idea. I thought it was delving, but I might be wrong. I might just be punning your name, Dale.
Yeah, exactly. I put the Del in delving. No, I don't. I've never spelunked in my life. Anyway, let's both dive and delve and sink our teeth into the Dongai, as it were. Take it away, Shiki. Please, God.
All right, so in Bleach news, we have two interesting bits of news today. So first off, we have a collaboration between Bleach and the merchandise company Super Groupies. And here we're getting some Ichigo and Toshiro themed merchandise, including a watch, and a hoodie, and a backpack for Ichigo. And for Toshiro, we have a watch, a hoodie, and a purse. Now, granted, these are currently only in Japan, but they do international shipping. If you have... Oh, what are we looking at for prices
a lot of
again?
Money?
Oh, God,
so
yeah.
we
Give it a lot.
9,800 yen for each hoodie. So if we want to translate that to USD, that's about $98 before tax and before international shipping.
That's about $70 odd. $70 quid.
The Ichigo watch is 21,800 yen, so about $218 USD.
It's also gorgeous. Like, Ichigo is not one of my favorite characters in Bleach, but I would wear this watch if I had $218 plus taxes and shipping to spare. It's really attractive. These pieces, they're like really subdued and really like subtle. I think they're actually very elegantly done. I like everything, actually.
They are.
But yeah, it's if you got a little extra money to spare and you're interested in
That
some...
unemployment's coming in clutch.
Whoop, whoop. But yeah, if you're looking for some Bleach merch...
the Toshiro watch. Like, the Toshiro
Stimulate
watch is
that economy.
stunning.
Yeah.
It's like white and it's got like crystals and stuff in it, and it's a very pretty watch.
It's got the little Squad 10 logo on the face, I think, too, right? It's so nice.
But yeah, if you're looking for some Bleach merch, definitely look at this and see if it's within your budget, because this is some very nicely made stuff, especially for the hoodies and the watches, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
But then, if we also want to look not so much into the merch section, but for the entertainment, we have a collab between Bleach and Karate's, a karaoke place in Japan. So if you're over in Japan right now, between June 19th and August 31st, Karate's is having a special room that's going to be Bleach themed. They're having Bleach-themed drinks as well. Yeah, each one's named after the different Zanpakuto. So you've got all
I hope
these
Katen Kyokotsu's is just sake and nothing else.
Or Rangiku's.
But yeah, we'll definitely leave the links to this in the description, but it has drinks, some merchandise as well for it just there, and you can rock out to your favorite OP and EDs of Bleach.
Ugh, that's
If we were all there, guys.
Yes, a host hangout. That'd be fun.
Now I'm like wondering if there's a way to do virtual server karaoke. I think it would require some planning, but my nerd ass is like, is there any way to pull that off? Because like,
we could probably do it. We could live stream that. That'd be fun.
Oh, that'd be funny. That would be a
Stay
laugh.
tuned.
I'm sure there's maybe some people in the server that could think of nothing worse than probably sitting there listening to this going, oh my god, don't do it, you guys, shut.
It would all be in good fun. It would all be in good fun. Oh my god.
Anyway,
we'll table that. I'm gonna hang on to that though. That's interesting.
All right, that's all we have for news.
Yeah, so I think now that means it's time for our awards section, our Shinigami Cup Peroxide edition, featuring Best Dressed, Best Ship, and Best Double Take Moment. Do we want to kick things off with Best Dressed? Lethan, what did you put for Best Dressed this week?
I put, just because I absolutely loved it, and it's, as a Scottish person, I absolutely love this, but I put Kirei and her attitude. Especially her outfit, because the shit she was giving Chad, I was like, oh girl, you belong in Scotland. So I put Kirei and her attitude.
For me, I put that one ghost boy who they were trying to find that hall at first, who was freaking out and crying. I said, ghost boy wearing Ichigo's and Rukia's shoes shoved in his face.
Ooh. Yeah. I went like super straight up on this one. You're all gonna be shocked. I had to go with Uryu and his white coat and his glinting glasses and his striking silhouette. I just think he looks so sharp and so good, and I had a couple of comedic little backups. And this one out, because I just think he looks so good. He looks so good.
I think a Quincy cosplay would be so fun to do.
Oh my gosh, I know. The Quincy cosplays and like some of the Arankar cosplays are with all just like the crisp white lines. It just,
I'll have to try that one day.
So nice.
Will we move on to ship then?
Yeah,
right.
Best ship.
Yeah, I put Uryu and his disinterest for human life. Because he's like, I've got this bit, I've just got to like let all the hollows come. I don't fucking care.
Oh, savage.
Sorry. Not sorry.
So for me, it's not so much a ship, but rather the tag team made in heaven, Chad and Karine, definitely our ideal squad.
Heck yeah.
Good one.
Yes. I went straight up for this one too, but it's super goofy. The best ship of these two episodes for me is a literal ship of the ghost couple that can't stop demonstrating their PDA in front of Tatsuki while she's like J-chillin' in her martial arts outfit. It's super small, but I was like, what? Like, all the moments of Tatsuki seeing ghosts in episode, I want to say that was 11, were super, super funny. There's also, like, the one that, like, wiggles its butt in her face and says, in the sub, "You and I are butt friends." I don't know what that means. I don't want to know what that means. But the ghost couple and their gratuitous, gross PDA that Tatsuki couldn't unsee is my best ship of the week.
Brilliant. It's so good.
Yeah.
Double takes. I've got Ichigo in the issues with his teachers in the manga, because I had to reread that bit, so that's going serious. It's not a joke that time. Like, that really really tugged at my heartstrings, and I was like, I reread those couple of panels a few times. That was my double take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for my double take, for me that would be the flashback with Chad and his abuelo, and the You're Beautiful, the Utsukushi little factoid. When I saw that, it's like I immediately went back and was like, wait, that's not Kirei. And I had to just check what that meaning of the term was, and I felt that just hit really hard into Chad as a deeper character.
That's awesome. Yeah, mine actually had to do with Chad and his abuelo as well. It was, so there's a little bit, I want to say this was sort of earlier. Oh no, this was episode 12. You see Uryu looking up at the sky, and you see this image of this older man also dressed in white. So you see Uryu looking back at some older male figure who seems to have been influential in his life. And then at the end of episode 12, you get to see a distinct and concrete representation of an older man, an abuelo, a grandfather figure that had a significant impact on Chad's life. And so I had never connected that between Uryu and Chad before, but thinking about the relationship that they might have similar relationships to these like impactful, strong, older gentlemen that still give them guidance from afar today. And it was a parallel that I hadn't really noticed before. So that's my moment.
That was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got our fandom shoutouts, and
yeah, fandom shoutouts.
who's want to knock this one out the park?
Say what?
I says, who's want to knock this one out?
I guess I'll start this round.
Go for it.
Oh yeah, hit it.
So-
I was like, that might be something Scottish that I've never heard before.
Oh.
I don't know what that means.
No, that's just me trying to fit in with some Americans, and clearly it's not working.
Oh, sorry. What did you say again? What was the phrase you used?
Like knocking it out the park, no? Like baseball?
Oh!
Baseball here, so
I just couldn't hear.
Like totally trying. Anyway, Shiki, please save me. What was your shout out?
Be a shonen hero and protect us all, please,
Yeah.
God. Oh,
No, I think I'll let you all be embarrassed a little longer.
Fuck you.
All
it's only
right,
awkward if you make it awkward.
so for my shout out, it's a cosplay from Instagram user UniqueSora. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that right again. She is cosplaying Yoruichi, and I'm just going to say she does a fantastic job at it. I'll send you guys the picture later, but yeah, definitely check her out.
We'll link to it as well in the show notes. Cool. My fandom shout out, I'm going to be really cruel here because Elv, the lovely Elv. Oh, we didn't even explain why Elv wasn't here. I've just realised we missed that.
That's okay.
For any listeners listening, we're like, there's 4 hosts, but we alternate between us, so there might be some episodes where there's just 2, where there's just 3, and that's kind of the way that we're going to go, just based on like scheduling and things going forward. So
Yeah,
Elv
we
will
touched on
be
that just a
back.
little bit last week. Yeah, so just going forward, it'll rarely be all 4 of us, so never be alarmed if one of us is off in the ether somewhere.
We are still around. So I'm stealing 2 for this time because Elf stole 2 last time and one of them was mine, so I'm stealing hers. So this time I've got Element 5 Manga on Instagram, who has done a fantastic soy phone piece. that was commissioned by a friend of mine. So Plu, shout out to Plu who commissioned them for it. But yeah, that's going to be linked as well. And it's so rare that we get to see some like Soifon work and artwork, so I'm pretty excited for that. And the other shout out I've got is for our lovely Discord server that turns 2 years old tomorrow, which is his birthday, woohoo! So
happy birthday!
Yeah, I know. By the time this episode goes up, it will have happened, because right now we're recording on the 15th, but like the 16th of June is our server's birthday, which I believe has some relevance to the manga as well. Is that not the date or the day before Ichigo's mother's birthday, I believe? Is that not this?
When is Ichigo's birthday? Because he's at Cancer, and it is Cancer season right now. Is his birthday June 15th? No.
Oh, I feel like...
Yeah, it's gotta be, because July 15th he would be a, oh my god, what comes after Cancer?
So don't we check that? I think Shiki's on it.
God.
I can hear
This
a
is
click.
embarrassing.
Yeah, so Shiki's on. That's fine. But I wasn't sure.
July 15th was his birthday.
July
Son of a
15th.
gun.
There we go. But I think it was significant in the terms of like when we see him looking at his like calendar, whatever it is, and he's like, "What day is it today?" Oh, and then I'm sure it had some sort of significance to that the day he looks and he's like, "Oh, it's the anniversary of his mother's death." I think I can't remember. But anyway, our Discord server turns 2 tomorrow. Yay! Happy birthday to us!
Yay!
On the 16th of June, we've got some big things happening in the server, so very excited for that. And those are mine.
Great. My shout out this week goes to an artist who is both prolific and like ridiculously talented. I'm sure that she'll deny that if she listens to this and hears me say that, but she is one of the most talented artists regularly producing content today, in my opinion. It's actually, I'm going to shout out her side blog on Tumblr. It's called Neknos-Bleach-Dogs on Tumblr. So it started off mostly being some Shunsui, Nanao, and Ukitake stuff. But she has this whole AU where a bunch of Bleach characters are dogs, and they are so good. I cannot describe to you how well she captures personalities and characters in like animated dog form. It is so sweet, so pure. There's like some stuff where, and like, you know, you ship it or you don't, whatever, but like there are some puppies that happen sometimes, and you can see traits of like, they're like Shunsui and Nanao sometimes have puppies in things that she draws, and they look a little bit like both of them, and it's really freaking cute. So like, if you like dogs and you like Bleach, I cannot tell you how much I think you'll love this blog. Sometimes she animates things. It is one of the best follows I've ever decided to follow in my whole entire life. It brings me so much joy, and she's just so good. She's just so good, and she's so kind, and she's so cool. So we'll link that in the show notes, of course. But again, that is neknos-bleach-dogs.tumblr.com. Gosh, it's good, and I love it.
I'm super excited for this because I'm like wolf and dog obsessed. So this
here I'll drop a little sample in the chat so you can have a look right now, and then we'll share on our Instagram eventually. So.
All right, and one last note: yes, the death date of Ichigo's mom was June 17th.
Right. So
yeah.
So it was the day before is our server's birthday. Yeah. Amazing.
Cool. Well, is that what we've got for the week, fam? Anything else? Any last notes, comments, questions, thoughts?
Join the Discord.
Moments of thirst, moments of need.
No, I'm all good.
Okay, fab. Well, in that case, thank you for listening, you wonderful souls. That's the end of another episode. If you like what you heard and want to get involved, you can find us by searching for TheSeireitei on Tumblr and Instagram, and TheSeireitei on Twitter. Each of these platforms will link you to our fantastically deadly Discord family, where you can chat with us about the show, read fanfiction, take part in creative challenges, and talk anything and everything Bleach. On the next episode of the podcast, we'll be covering anime episode 13, Flower and Hollow, and episode 14, Back to Back, A Fight to the Death. We'll see you souls then. Till next time, thank you. Bye.
Bye.